Welcome, everyone. My name is Jonathan Gallardo, and I'm with
Carlos.
Carlos what?
Carlos Nava.
Carlos
Yes,
Nava.
yes.
So you may have heard, and this is a different person that we have here across from me. It's Carlos Nava from Vida Abundante, and you are the
I'm the youth pastor here.
youth pastor at Vida Abundante Church. So welcome to the podcast. You made it, bro. Yeah, I mean, once you get
thrilled,
to this,
man. I'm excited.
yeah, I mean, it's Joe Rogan and then it's us, so you're here, you're on the big stage.
It's the same thing.
So this is going to be, your career is going to skyrocket from here.
For sure.
But this is going to be a very important time. I mean, we're doing a video for the first time, so that, it's an in-app exclusive probably that we'll throw out on. So follow us on Twitter. We'll put the links up. You guys, we'll put up the links on the description, right? We'll set that up. All right, cool. So, but this is going to be a very important time because we're going to be talking about youth ministry. We're going to be talking about youth culture in general. All right. And we're going to be addressing parents. Like, we're going to be talking about parents and how to parent during these times. So it's going to be a very important conversation that we want to have, and we want to get the parents involved in this too, so that they could be aware of several of the things that their youth are facing in today's culture. So with that said, I would first and foremost love to introduce you to the podcast and kind of get a little bit of background on your story, how you got into, how the fact that you're a youth pastor now, and did you see yourself in this position when you were 10 years old? Just a little bit of a background story on your life so people could kind of get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah. So, thank you, man. This is awesome. I'm thrilled. But, I've been at Vida for a really long time. I don't remember not being at Vida. And so, that just kind of goes to show you kind of a little bit of my background as a kid and stuff. But as I got older and I started to become, get older and was now involved or as a participant at the youth ministry, they were very strict with once you're 13, you have to go to the youth ministry. And I was a little older than my friends, and so I would try to sneak into, the Sunday school classes. But man, they were hardcore back then. Man, they would go and search for you. Yeah, and it's not like now.
You were still in the classes in the back, in the top. Yeah,
yes,
I remember those days. Yeah.
But they were crazy, man. They would go and find you, and they'd come and take you downstairs, and because it was in the basement, it was held at the basement in that time, and it was super, super crazy or intimidating because they would make you stand up. Oh, I know Israel's here, so I know he knows what I'm talking about, and say your name, introduce yourself.
And you're like the small kid, the young
small,
kid.
Maybe 2 pounds less, and stuff. And people would start clapping, welcome. Yeah. It was weird. But nothing wrong with it, but just that's why I didn't want to go. And so once I started to, be a part of the youth ministry at 13, obviously, there's a lot of things that you kind of start to experience for the first time as you're getting older. You start to become very self-aware, hyper self-aware of the type of person that you are and the type of person that you're kind of becoming and whatnot. And at 13, I really would not have imagined myself to be here at 31, as the youth pastor. There was something about the Bible that always kind of interested me. There was something about church life in general that kind of always interested me. But all in all, I wouldn't expected myself to be the youth pastor, 12, whatever years later.
So something had to happen.
Something happened, man, and so the youth pastors at the time, they were very, interesting with their approach in the way that they taught and all of that stuff. I remember, pages being ripped out of the Bible to prove a point and stuff. And all of these images really stuck to my head, And although it's stuff that's whoa, that's crazy. Some way, somehow, it all kind of started to work together to make sense of certain things. And I remember one time there was this whole thing that happened with, this is going to be a weird story to bring up, but it kind of explains a few things. I was hanging out with a group of friends at the time, and I was with this group of friends, till I kind of graduated high school and stuff. And the first time I kind of felt like, oh my goodness, I think this is what accountability or kind of pastoral mentorship guidance feels like, was when there was an incident at the church of somebody egging cars. and for a moment,
infamous egging.
Yes. If you want details, you can talk to Henry about that. You can talk to Israel,
the next time he gets on the
Jonah.
podcast, we'll ask him about that.
Let him ask him what he did.
Tweet us, please.
Because he was there. But the point is,
tweet Henry, please.
Our group of friends had nothing to do with any of that, but we were like scared that somehow, some way, like, was it, were people going to blame us, or were people going to kind of, point the finger at us? Yeah. And I felt scared for a moment. Wow. And, I felt like, okay, cool. Like, this is what it means to like have accountability, right? Or have somebody that's looking out for you in a way. And calling you out when you're kind of doing things the wrong way and whatnot. I kind of never really felt that. Like, my parents were always very good with like, discipline and instructing me and all of that. But as every like son, and I'm assuming daughter, knows, it's more so you don't do things, not, because you don't want to let them down, right? And so this was like the first time I felt like, oh, this is somebody else that is really upset about this. These are other people that are very upset about this. Like, maybe I can't just, be thinking about life in a very specific way. And ever since kind of like those points in my life, there was like multiple points like that in my life. I started to really understand that, this life, like it's about what you do. Like, am I really a Christian? Am I not a Christian? Is this book that we read every Sunday and go to home group with on Friday, like, is it really applicable to my life? And how is it going to change my living, my mindset, the way I approach things in life? And just little by little, as I started to get older, God really transformed the way I thought about certain things, transformed my view on life. And now, years later, under the right pastorship and all of that, and right, just leaders in my life, I'm here now. And it's just been a wild journey for sure.
Big roller coaster. So, heck yeah. When would you, like, I've found several points in my life where I've felt conversion took place. Like, I can't pinpoint it. And I want to believe that I was converted a long, long time ago. Yeah. But then sometimes I'm like, man, I don't think I was. Like, even like till recently, it's like, not recently as in last year or stuff, but like, in my 20s probably. But so even as a young person, like, becoming a youth pastor, but then when was it that you like found your conversion story? Like, when do you say, like, it was during those events in the egging days that were like that caught my attention, or was it later on? And I'm only asking because, if parents listen to this, and if some parents are listening out there and they have maybe 8, 9, 10-year-olds, and maybe their 10-year-olds are crazy, and even some of their preteens are getting crazy and getting in trouble at school and stuff. What hope is there for them in that case? But just kind of let them know, and letting us know when your conversion took place, because it might be a sigh of relief for some people. It could have been early on, or maybe it was in your 20s. I don't know. But like, when was that for you?
So I think, there was a lot of moments where I felt like I made this quote unquote decision to like commit my life to Christ. I can say that more often than not, when I made these quote unquote commitments, it was more out of pressure or even fear to a degree.
You were scared into salvation
in a way, and so I just want to be pretty clear with that, because I feel like I lived a lot of my high school life trying to be quote unquote good with God, not necessarily because I was bought in 100%, but more so because of fear. And not like, somebody was making me or anything. I want to clear that up. But just more so this idea of, man, if God is, real, like my only view of God was more so this God that is very judgment heavy. And if I miss a service or something, I'm going to get stricken down. And I remember one time on a Wednesday night, and, it was said like, you can't miss Wednesdays. And, we're like, okay, well, why not? It's like, well, it's because, what if God speaks and you're going to miss out? And so it was like this mindset of like, oh, well, I guess I won't miss Wednesdays. Not necessarily I wanted to come every Wednesday, but, like if God is real, if there's something out there that is God, right? Like, okay, like I know I'm gaining an understanding. I'm looking into the Bible and, okay, like I'm starting to wrap my head around it a little bit. But man, if he's going to speak on a Wednesday night, I don't want to miss it, So it was more of kind of like that weird, thing. Okay. I think it was more so like once I was like 17, 18, 19 in that range where, things in my life started to really change. My mindset. I used to think not negative, but I had a very low view of who I was as a person. I did have good friends. I had a good family around me and all of that, good leaders around me. But I had really low self-esteem. And maybe, if you know me for a long time, that'd be a little difficult to kind of, diagnose that in me. But I really viewed myself, very low. And so what made my identity was really the people I kind of was around. And once I started, when I was getting older, 17, 18, 19, I really started to see like, I was created by God, right? Maybe I didn't understand it fully, but if I'm here, it's for, or it has to be for a reason. This is what the Bible teaches me at least, right? And so on and so forth. And my mindset started to shift. My desires started to shift when I was trying to maybe do things with some kind of selfish gain or do things because I wanted others to look at me a certain way. All of that started to shift into more of an approach of, no, this is what I want to do, and these are the things I want to be involved with because of what God has, done, and how good God has been to me, and just kind of this more confidence, not so much in myself, but in the Bible and who God really was. And so once I started to notice these changes and me looking up like preachings on my own and kind of things like that, because again, I understood God as, he's going to judge. Okay, cool. I knew that. There's going to be a day, right, whatever, when, God's going to, see what's up with you and count your rights and your wrongs. And, was Jesus with you or not, right? Did you accept him or what? Like, this was kind of the mindset. And so once I started to like look stuff up on my own, once I started to do like my own quote unquote research, right?
So what does that look like at your age? You're talking about 17, 18, 19. Yeah. Getting into your 20s or still like in your teen?
No, I was like 18. 18.
Okay, 18, so what does 19. That look like? What does that research look like?
A lot of YouTube.
Okay.
At the time. And random articles like blogs online. And so, at the time, things were very different. And so I was listening to different type of preaching than what I was used to hearing. And, it was one of the first times that I kind of learned about like what the grace of God really like is.
Okay.
And what the love of God really is towards a child of God and so on and so forth. And, it's not this like mushy gushy type of, romantic love, but, just learning more about it. And really all of those things with going hand in hand with all of the years of what I've learned at the church and with youth leaders and youth pastors, it kind of just really there was a moment where it's like, oh, okay, like what I do is not because I choose to do it. I've experienced, this love of God. I've experienced this mercy from God, this grace that God has poured on my life, right? And I see it. Like everything that I do is a response to God really just changing who I was at that time. Because again, my mindset had shifted. The reason why I did things had shifted. Even my understanding of worship had shifted from this worship of, in a weird way, oh, can God somehow notice me with my worship? To know I worship because of all that He's done for me. Okay. And it was that whole approach. So from like 17 to 19, it was those, years of, oh, dang, okay, like, yeah, this walk with God has nothing to do with me. It's been all Him this entire time. He's been keeping me. He's been sustaining me. He's been, guiding me through this whole thing. And although there were, moments where I had questions and I had doubts, and moments where it's like, should I even come to church, or why am I even coming here? Am I coming because of a leader? Am I coming because of fear? Am I coming because of manipulation? Right? No, like, man, it's been God this whole time, in my life, just kind of leading me to something.
You were under then, so you, like, your formative years early on were under law, we could say law. And then, so later on, it began to balance out into grace.
Yes.
You feel it stood between law and grace, or was it you were looking into grace a lot more because you felt law your whole life?
I felt like I just understood more of law.
Okay.
And kind of more of and maybe the intention wasn't for me to form it into my mind as a more legalistic way of viewing things, but that's how it ended up being in my life. Oh, well, I shouldn't do this. Why? Not because, anything to do with God, but it's not the right thing to do. Yeah. It's not what a Christian does. It's like, but why doesn't what I mean? Like, just kind of those next levels of it. Well, why shouldn't you do that? Why shouldn't you watch that? Why shouldn't you partake in this? Oh, because you just shouldn't, right? You should be light. Well, what does that even mean? Like a high school student doesn't really grasp that, And so all of that has really helped my approach in these past 5 years with the youth, being aware of, okay, I cannot expect a junior high student that still doesn't know how deodorant works to understand what spiritual maturity looks like, right? And in a lot of ways, expect it from them. Now, there's obviously levels of expectation and whatnot, but it's helped so much going through, a youth ministry that was, at the end beneficial to me. I mean, it led me, to do different things and whatnot.
Everything works out for
the
best.
It worked out, man. It worked out. And it's helped. It's helped up until this point for sure.